Shalom to the tribe. All praises to the Most High, Hoa. That is Ama and Abba. And we are in the ether right about now. Yeah, you can see it. Picking up from our last build, I know I tend to reside right on this fifth wave. As you can see, we are in the fifth wave, what some refer to as the fifth dimension. We're just talking ether. And as we're just talking ether, I gotta realize that sometimes, a lot of people are still in this particular area. Got a couple of folks surfing a wave right about here. Alright. So, yeah, man. Knowing that there's levels to this, as you quite know, I can only come to you correct. And that's when the spirit is correct as well. When the spirit's correct, well, that's when these type of builds, the vibe, the whole connection, the wave within itself is at its most natural. See, when the spirit is right, then the flow is right. And I know it's like a real inspiration behind this. It's a real motivation. And it's a oneness. And that's what I love these builds to be about, right? The oneness and coming together and tribing up as like minds and individuals of different thought processes that happen to also coincide with one another, give or take. All right. So as I said, I'm usually within the ether, and we're gonna go ahead and dive into some topics and kind of just break down, continuing the last drop, because we got into some deep ish, and I just want to kind of reiterate that, but in a different wave, before we go back to touching on that. All right. So all pieces in Ahab, Shabbat Shalom. I hope everyone is righteous. We're gonna go ahead and continue this build. Peace, peace. Alright, so we're gonna jump straight into it. And shout out to this content creator. We definitely gonna get it from a 2D perspective, that is two-dimensional, and then we gonna dive deeper into it to gain some more metaphysical properties and surf the wave. So peace to the real ones.
Why a lot of people think Americans are dumb?
Because you are. Yeah, your country got taken over by us. You're dumb.
Our country got taken.
Yeah.
You're going viral.
What? No, you don't. You ain't even American. You ain't American. This is not American. If I see an American, I look. If I see an American, I look. Okay, cool chat. I don't see.
All right, so right off the bat, there was a lot that's happening. All right, so if we go ahead and bring it back, which is what we're going to do, we see that this brother right here goes and asks the other guy, why is it that Americans are seen as dumb? And the other guy goes ahead and he expresses himself. All right, but notice the context that he's speaking in on a two-dimensional level. Yeah, you're talking about Americans as in citizenship and as in, just happen to be born in a particular area. But when you look deeper into the questions that are being asked, and then you hear how he's directly implicating his intent of meaning, then we get more into that deeper understanding, right? That metaphysical vibe. So let's peep it again from the top.
Why a lot of people think Americans are dumb?
Because you are. Yeah, your country got taken over by us. You're dumb.
Our country got taken.
So you see, he's automatically like your country. Your country got taken over by us, and he's referring to us.
You're going viral.
He's referring to us as in the people in the region that they're in, right? Because they happen to be in the UK. And so he's referring to, of course, the region that he's in on a 2D level, but he's also, of course, accounting for his particular race, right? And what he identify as. And we'll go ahead and see that as this video plays out.
Why a lot of people think Americans are dumb?
Because you are. Yeah, your country got taken over by us. You're dumb.
Our country got taken.
Yeah.
You're going viral.
What? No, you don't. You ain't even American. You ain't American. This is not American. If I see an American, I look. If I see an American, I look. Okay, cool chat. I don't see I don't see Bruce Lee.
First and foremost, I am a mixed race person. First of all, let me tell you, see how British people say they don't see race?
Are you British? Is he British?
What makes him British?
You're Albanian? Hold on.
No, I'm not Albanian.
Where you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
Luton.
This clearly shows the ignorance of British people. Because, hold on. This man talking about how country, this and that. Y'all really mad because we're the only...
All right. So we're going to bring it back one more time to reiterate what we're building on. All right. So here we see two different plays on context. Okay. So in the first example, we see how America is referred to as this guy's country right here. It's referred to his country. America is referred to as his country. And this dude is saying that Americans are dumb because their country, he as an American, we as as Americans allowed them to take over our country. Okay, peep what's going on.
Why a lot of people think Americans are dumb?
Because you are. Yeah, your country got taken over by us. You're dumb.
Our country got taken.
Yeah.
So see, your country got taken over by us. You're dumb. Look how he's laughing, right? He's really like in the vibe. He's really in the zone, and he's feeling his information. He's like standing on his business, his version of business. He's standing on it. All right.
Yeah.
You're going viral.
What? No, you don't. You ain't even American. You ain't.
Then he goes to the other guy and he says, "You're not even American." Okay, so he referred to the copper tone individual, the Naga, right, the Khan, as an American. You see what's going on. But when it came to this other cat to the side, he's like, "You're not even an American." He's like, "Come on, man, like just look at the surface, look at yourself. You're not even an American." And it goes back to the 2D version when the other guy goes to explain himself. But at the same time, what his whole notion is aiming at is the deeper part to this, right? The metaphysical aspect to this, to the fact that he is talking about the original Negro, right? We're talking the autochthonous, the indigenous, and he's referring to the indigenous as the American. All right. Keep this in mind. He's going to go ahead and kind of back it up. All right. Maybe it's subconscious, but nonetheless, this is the message.
American. This is not American. If I see an American, I look. If I see an American, I look. Okay, cool chat. I don't see I don't see Bruce Lee.
All right, so he jumps into that. I don't see Bruce Lee, and it's kind of like, what is he really hinting at, right? Because Bruce Lee, off surface value, wouldn't necessarily look like an American either. Okay. But nonetheless, he has his point. But watch as, the other group tends to respond or rebuttal to what he's saying. Let's see.
First and foremost, I am a mixed race person. First of all, let me tell you, see how British people say they don't see race?
Are you British? Is he British?
What makes
So one finger's pointing at him. Is he British? And then he's pointing at the darker guy to the side, and what makes him British. Now you see how that instantly jumped from just the 2D level into now the metaphysical part, because now we're not just pinpointing so-called nationalities. Now we're actually talking about a particular people, right? Look. Okay, so let's see if we can get this back real quick at this point. Now they're asking about this guy, all right? What makes him British?
What makes him British?
You're Albanian? Hold on.
No, I'm not Albanian.
Okay, and then they skip right past that because now they're trying to key in on where this guy is actually from. What's his nationality? What's his background?
Where you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
Got it! Luton.
All right, and then I guess wherever Luton is, I'm not sure, but it kind of has no more reference into what he's actually speaking on from a we thing as far as taking over America, right? He's basically, with that expression, it sounds like he's no longer a part of that we talk. Or if he is, as far as the United Kingdom, maybe that town or that specific place is very minor to what's going on as far as how that happened. So that's funny in that aspect. But when you're really looking at it on a deeper level, he's more like, hey, as the natural American, right? The Amarucan, the American, right? As the natural American, our kind, people that look like me have taken over your land and you don't even know. And that's the real message behind this.
A lot of people think Americans are dumb.
Because you are. Hey, your country got taken over by us. You're dumb.
Our country got taken.
Yeah.
You're going viral.
What? No, you don't. You ain't even American. You ain't American. This is not American. If I see an American, I look. If I see an American, I look. Okay, cool chat. I don't see I don't see Bruce Lee.
First and foremost, I am a mixed race person. First of all, let me tell you, see how British people say they don't see race?
Are you British? Is he British?
What makes him British?
You're Albanian? Hold on.
No, I'm not Albanian.
Where you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
Got it! Luton.
This clearly shows the ignorance of British people. Because hold on. This man talking about how country, this and that. Y'all really mad because we're the only country y'all.
Why a lot of people think.
Alright, so peace. We're going to continue on to the next one. Alright, so continuing from that last video, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into this one. Now, this is from a streamer by the name of Kai Sanat. For those who know what streaming, is and what they do, you should already definitely know who this person is. If not, you can go ahead and take the time out to look him up. But he's going to basically go on a tangent, a little rant, and it resurfaces, these age-old questions, right? When it comes to main point identifiers. And I'm going to refer to the Negropeans, basically those that still cling on to ideologies and old ways and refuse to get outside of the stereotype and refuse to actually find some type of natural identification when it comes to a nationality per se. I'm gonna refer to them as the so-called FBAs, the foundational Black Americans. They tend to really harbor and harness the word black for whatever purpose, right? But when we get into sovereignty, when we're talking about law, when we're talking about standing and status, it is the term black that's actually a curse, okay? And this streamer, this Kai Cenat, kind of goes into this topic as to just how it's a curse, right? And a lot of foundational Black Americans took offense to that, all right? And they took offense to what he's saying. And this is not to back him up. or say that he's right in the sense of where he was coming from, because he's technically not. But at the same time, in what he means, he does have a point, and he is right. Just like how, you know, the British guy was technically right when it came to his stance, right, and what he was really implying on that 3D level. So when we're looking at this video from, again, a two-dimensional perspective and a three-dimensional perspective, we're going to see how I mean, because I don't think he actually said Black Americans are uncultured. As we can see, he says all my mods who are not cultured at all. But he does go to say that he's basically talking about Black Americans, right? And then he goes on to say, like, there's no nationality, and that's what his point is. And what's crazy is that he basically appeals to this same culture that he's tearing down in this rant. So, you know, we're going to see also a frame of mind, right? An ideology of what doesn't make us the same is actually what divides us, right? And where we differ. And this goes on to the context of the skin tone and, you know, it being in you and not necessarily on you. So when you surf the wave, we're going to dig into it. Peace, peace.
Who are not cultured at all. Stop dick riding. I don't want to hear, like, when I'm asking general questions, I'm not asking y'all niggas. Stop dick riding. Y'all niggas is black. You're black. You're just black.
Just be yourself.
Bro, you're just fully American. You're African American, bro.
Wow, did you hear what he said? You're just fully American. And then he goes back into the context of African American. But he doesn't even believe the African American part, which is why he just said you're fully American. And in this aspect, he sounds no different than the British guy from the previous video. All right. And this is why we're surfing this wave. So let's get it back and let's go.
Who are not cultured at all. Stop dick riding. I don't want to hear, like, when I'm asking general questions, I'm not asking y'all niggas. Stop dick riding. Y'all niggas is black. You're black. You're just black.
Just be yourself.
Bro, you're just fully American. You're African American, bro. That's it. How was that see you in 30? That wasn't an insult. That was shit.
He said that wasn't an insult. You're just black. You're just black. He's basically saying you Negroes got no identity. You're just black. That's a crayon. What does black, what standing does that actually hold? You know, and this goes to the, you know, the ridicule of so-called foundational Black Americans, or those that actually attach to being black as a solid identity. You know, when you say, and I know I use, you know, these terms as black and so forth to talk, but, you know, it's also to show a distinction and to reach those people who actually identify as black, you know, and those who really don't know. If this is the first time they're coming across a video of mine or something similar to ours, surfing the wave, these terms is what catch their attention. But when you really break down on a 3D level, a metaphysical level, you know, a lot of you guys like to say this is the age of Aquarius. Well, when you start talking like that and you tap into this so-called new age and all of this, holding on to, you know, crayon typical words as far as black and white and playing that whole thing leads you into a curse. It's a deeper curse, and it attaches you to a stoop of ignorance. So when someone like this goes ahead and actually goes on this type of rant and begins to say what they're saying, it's offensive, right? But there's technicalities. And it's just about who's seasoned. You know, you got some indigenous Americans that happen to be rich in melanin who understand what the culture is of these indigenous Americans. These original cons, these niggas, right? the original indigenous Naga, there's an understanding on how their culture influences the world. But then you have those that don't even know this part. They just see the separation. They just know the difference. Maybe it's because their origin point has a source, has an identification. It has a trace backward, right? And so they don't see themselves as a so-called foundational Black American. Yet at the same time, when you really dig on it, what is a foundational Black American? Why not just say American when we're talking about the Webster's, the 1828 Webster's Dictionary definition for an American? All right. And we'll get that later on. But it's just something to paint out. We're going to start it back and I'm going to try to let it ride out as much as possible.
Who are not cultured at all. Stop dick riding. I don't want to hear, like, when I'm asking general questions, I'm not asking y'all niggas. Stop dick riding. Y'all niggas is black. You're black. You're just black.
Just be yourself.
Bro, you're just fully American. You're African American, bro. That's it. How was that see you in 30? That wasn't an insult. That was strictly, you're black. You're not Trinidadian. You're not Jamaican. You're not African. You're not, word. You're not Ghanaian. You're not Dominican. You're not Puerto Rican. You're not Cuban. Oh my God.
Now I know I'm late as hell.
Now, I'm not trying to cut this sister's point off, but I'm not about to go into all that diatribe. We're really just focusing on this, and this is the point, right? Those that surf the wave, those that are on this channel know exactly that this is what we talk about, and this is what we're going toward in the future, because it's going to lead a lot of confusion for the young ones, especially for those of us that continue to remain here. There are going to be a lot more influxes of people coming over as far as immigration goes. And these type of, topics and conversations, feelings and emotions will be taking place. And this is why this type of topic of discussion is always important. All right.
Who are not cultured at all. Stop dick riding. I don't want to hear, like, when I'm asking general questions, I'm not asking y'all niggas. Stop dick riding. Y'all niggas is black. You're black. You're just black.
Just be yourself.
Bro, you're just fully American. You're African American, bro. That's it. How was that see you in 30? That wasn't an insult. That was strictly, you're black. You're not Trinidadian. You're not Jamaican. You're not African. You're not, word. You're not Ghanaian. You're not Dominican. You're not Puerto Rican. You're not Cuban. Oh my God.
Now I know I'm late as hell.
So basically, he doesn't even know the true identity of the indigenous Nagas he refers to as just black, right? Just fully American. And notice he said you're just fully American.
You are not cultured at all. Stop dick riding. I don't want to hear, like, when I'm asking general questions, I'm not asking y'all niggas. Stop dick riding. Y'all niggas is black. You're black. You're just black.
Just be yourself.
Bro, you're just fully American.
You're just fully American. You're just fully American. All right. So let's dive into this perception and why many feel this way. All right. And let's take a deeper look. This is a continuation from our last conversation, our last two drops, dealing with the Zet Tepe. The Zet Tepe is a real deep vibe, and I understand that. So we're going to go ahead and take a crash course into this to help pinpoint what was all going into that drop, and we'll go ahead and extend it as we carry forward. And in relation, as we'll see, this is also in reference to the Nephilim drop, part 7, I believe. Okay, so we're tying those two because those two basically were tied into each other. And yeah, man, this subject is taking off. We're in the 5th wave. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look into this concept just a little bit more. Peace to the real ones. Alright, so doing my research, like I told you, I've been a young student in that Wata for quite some time, alright? And this came from the Farhan Khan videos that I seen back in the day about the industry exposed. And now that I think about it years later, seeing this video is really what awoken me to a lot of the reality of today, right? And now to really just have a moment of clarity and to see how this brother's name actually had the term Khan in it. Fast forward to 2024, and it's pretty evident of who the Khans actually are. So that Khan to Khan message is definitely something, and it's just like, wow, right? Because it took for me to actually get acquainted and come into the knowing of the tribe, into the flow of the tribe, into the flow of Hawa, which is how we opened this video, right? By saying that the spirit, the soul has to be just right. It has to be just right. And so with that happening, it made it clear as to just what was really going on, right? What I was really looking at. So I took a screenshot of this certain point of one of his documentaries dealing with the exposure of the industry. And this particular pinpoint was about Michael Jackson. And as we can see, it reads, without Michael knowing, Thriller was a way to incorporate Michael into a ritual which had to be performed before they made him white. It was a way to transform him into a satanic entity. This is also why you see him transform throughout the music video. At first to the imagination of the girl, and then for real at the end. So with just this right here, with everything that we've been building on when we're talking about the Nephilims part 7, we were really asking certain questions, right? We were really diving into a certain perspective. And so I was just like, damn, what would link, this satanic activity and, what would make that a ritual involving his transformation into being white? And I was just really like flabbergasted because we are already on this journey, right? It's already becoming synonymous to us. It's definitely becoming synonymous to me. But to see this throwback from like 2009, I'm sitting back like, dang, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is kind of intense. So with that being said, I seen this other video, as we'll get to toward the end of this drop, that basically brought this all home together for me, right? And it was the fact that whiteness was a satanic ritual. The ideology of whiteness is a satanic ritual. And that is the reason they had to make Michael Jackson white, in order to appeal to the masses at large in their mind, right? According to them, for future references to come. A celebrity, an artist of his magnitude, really brought the term star to life, right? And the effect that he simply had on the masses was incomparable. I mean, there would never really be another Michael Jackson. And so it makes no wonders that they would have a certain reason to make him, to need him to be white. And so with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and take a dive as to what Mike actually tried to do before he met his demise. All right, so peace to the real ones. Let's get it.
Michael, we love you!
I remember a long time ago in Indiana, I was somewhere in like 6, 7 years old, and I had a dream that I wanted to be a performer, you know, an entertainer. Whenever I could sleep at night and my mother would wake me up, Michael, James Brown is on TV, let's go. I'd jump out of bed and just stare at the screen, and I knew every twist, every turn, every bump, every... And then there was Jackie Wilson. And it goes on, you know, just phenomenal, unlimited, great talent. And it's very sad to see that these artists really are famous, really, because they made and created so much joy for the world. And the system, meaning the record companies, totally took advantage of them. And it's not like they always say, you know, they built a big house, they spent a lot of money, they bought a lot of cars. That's stupid, it's an excuse. That's nothing compared to what artists make. And I just need you to know that this is very important, what we're fighting for. Because I'm tired, I'm really, really tired of the manipulation. I'm tired of how the press is manipulating everything that's been happening in this situation. They do not tell the truth, they're liars.
Now pay attention to that, right? He said they do not tell the truth, they're liars. Pay attention to that phrase, as we'll come across a little some as we break it down later, all right?
I always say, you know, they built a big house, they spent a lot of money, they bought a lot of cars. That's stupid, it's an excuse. That's nothing compared to what artists make. And I just need you to know that this is very important, what we're fighting for. Because I'm tired, I'm really, really tired of the manipulation. I'm tired of how the press is manipulating everything that's been happening in this situation. They do not tell the truth, they're liars. And they manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying.
So if he's telling that the history books are lying, he emphasized it like 3 times, right? If those history books are lying, what do you think that really says about the indigenous American, right? Which is why the Kai Cenat guy didn't really know who to refer to us as. He just said that we were fully American. Pay attention. And then in the video that we first started out with, the British guy was technically saying, hey, you're an American to the actual indigenous Naga, right? The melanin rich, the so-called black guy. So pay attention as we're digging on this, and pay attention to the emphasis that Michael's throwing on these history books. Michael tried to tell the masses at large a message, and he tried to do it by properly having a stronghold in the music industry as the kind of person he expressed himself to be. And shortly after this speech, it was a wrap. All right.
They spent a lot of money. They bought a lot of cars. That's stupid. It's an excuse. That's nothing compared to what artists make. And I just need you to know that this is very important, what we're fighting for. Because I'm tired, I'm really, really tired of the manipulation. I'm tired of how the press is manipulating everything that's been happening in this situation. They do not tell the truth. They're liars. And they manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that. All the forms of popular music, from jazz to hip hop to bebop to soul, you talk about the different dances, from the cakewalk to the jitterbug to the Charleston to breakdancing. All these are forms of black dancing.
Now, as Michael said that, right, it brought me back to a period where we touched on this video some years ago, proving that the Negro was basically the Indians, the indigenous of America, by way of dance. And just how Michael broke it down, he's breaking down his history, right? He's breaking down the history of the indigenous Niji, the indigenous Naga. So let's take a look into this video that we did years ago right here on The Naturalist. And we're going to bring this point even more full circle. I mean, keep in mind, right? Mike is telling us that the history books are full of lies. So let's dig on it. Peace to the real ones. Alright, so the name of this video is called Negroes Are Indians, Secrets of the South, Contributions to Society. Alright, and let's surf the wave. Yeah, man. It was being distinct, right? So here we already have them telling us in the etymology there's a difference between the native-born Negro of the Americas and the native inhabitant of Africa, right? And they were used to refer to the white residents of Africa from 1815, all right? So we looked at the contrast, right? Now I came across Hold Down under the search for Negro, right? And it says, Hold Down, noisy dance. Southern U.S. apparently originally the name of a specific dance, perhaps from perceived similarity of dance motions to those of farm chores, hence from ho, right? It says, the step of every Negro dance, right, that was ever known, the step of every Negro dance that was ever known was called into requisition and admirably executed, right? They performed the double shift, right? The Virginia breakdown, right? The Kentucky heel tap, the pigeon wing, the back balance lick, and the Arkansas hold down. All right. These were dances that so-called copper color races, the aboriginals of America, the so-called Negro, the so-called black woman and black man. Alright? These are the dances that they contributed to American society. So when they try to say that the Negro's never done something for society, well, think again. Alright? As simple as this sounds, it has a major impact, and we're going to dig right into it. Because to say that American culture would be the same without these dances, as simply as it's put, would be a lie. Now I'm going to prove this impact. Alright? They want to say the Negro had made no contribution to American society, alright? But it says right here, every Negro dance that was ever known, alright? So that's what we're going to dig on right now. We're going to prove who these Negroes were through dance, alright? Who these aboriginal natives of America who were of the copper color races, right? Or members of the colored race, right? So, that's what we're going to dig into. So I'm going to come over here real quick and hit pause on the joint, and we're going to come back. We're going to get into it, alright, fam? So yeah, you know, can't forget the fair use. Make sure everybody watching, you know, knows that we're just doing this for the reporting, right? The teaching and the research, right? Without the need for permission from a payment or the copyright holder, right? We're just sharing information, right? Right? Just teaching a little bit, right? Yeah, man. I hope everybody's doing well, fam. And yeah, thank you for your likes, you know what I mean? I mean, definitely got a lot more information to cover. You know, you guys share some with me, I'll be sharing with y'all. Together we can build on this, alright? So we're just gonna check out these videos. We're gonna get right into them. And yeah, remember we're dealing with those dances, alright? Part of this hold down, right? The double shuffle, the Virginia breakdown, right? The Kentucky heel tap, the pigeon wing, the balanced back lick, right? And the Arkansas hold down. Alright? Let's get into it.
There you go. Double shuffle, a double shuffle. With the right foot you have, brush, spank, brush, spank. Double shuffle is brush, spank, brush, spank. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Faster, 6, ready to go. Left side, brush, spank, brush, spank. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Faster, 5, 6, 7, 8. And those are double shuffles.
Double shuffles, alright? That was a double shuffle. We're gonna go to the next one. Alright. Now keep in mind, if these are the steps of every Negro dance, where is the Negro? Alright?
This step goes. Simple. But you're going to go and a once and a twice and a three and step. And a one and a two and a two and step. You're just turning back and forth on your standing leg. And the other foot is going to heel drop in between the first part of the toe and the second part of the toe.
Alright, now, it should seem familiar to you, right? Right? I mean, we're looking at these Kentucky hill taps, right?
Alright, here we have Brandon doing Kentucky Chug to the song Get a Rhythm by Johnny Cash. And there you have the Kentucky Chug.
Alright. Y'all following along? Alright, so we're going to go to the next.
Keep this in mind, though, fam. Keep this in mind, though, fam. Right? They're taking the dens of the Negro and they've now integrated it as a part of their cultural society. Right? That's what we just saw, right? Alright, fam. So, I mean, once again, you know, the step of every Negro dance that was ever known. The step of every Negro dance that was ever known. The step of every Negro's dance that was ever known. Alright? We've already looked at the double shift and shuffle, right? We checked out this one, heel tap. We just looked at this Arkansas hold down, right? Let's see what else we got. Again, where's the Negro in all of these presentations? Alright, now check this.
This is a mixture of styles here. The woman's fancy shawl, woman's jingle, woman's traditional, and men's grass bands. These are different styles.
Alright? So, yeah, we're gonna keep it going, fam. Hope everybody is doing alright. It's doing alright. Now, remind you, the step of every Negro. Alright? Now, you saw what those dances is similar to, right? So, yeah, let's continue with this.
University.
Hi, I'm Tommy DeFrance, a professor in African and African American Studies and Dance here at Duke University. And today I wanted to talk about African American social dances and how they emerged from this sort of trilogy of dance forms that came about in the 19th century. So Black social dances in the Americas, we have to remember, have really had huge influence the world over. And they developed after the Middle Passage when African Americans had to figure out ways to kind of be outside of the controlling eye of the clergy. A lot of these dances were forms that were restricted by white slaveholders who were really only interested in dances that were easily identified as being Christian movement. So there were three kinds of dances that emerged in the 19th century that become very important. And these are buck dances, wing dances, and jigs. So buck dances were forms that were very, very percussive and weighted down into the foot. Buck dances, lots of weight down the foot, energy. All these dances are about rhythm and percussion. Now, wing dances are really important and have a lot more kind of visibility in the 20th century and into the 21st century. Wing dances are dances where you literally flap parts of your body like as if they were wings. So these are all the dances that kind of get down here like this with the knees. You might have seen these dances or done some dances like this, but also with the arms. So you see how a wing dance, maybe 150 years later, can become part of maybe popping. The third form that emerged in the 19th century were called jigs. Jigs are dances that had lots and lots of energy and lots of velocity. So jigs, put jig and a wing together, you get something that we might recognize as footwork. Or something we might recognize as a Charleston, or the kitten play. Or if we just go back to the wing, we get something you might have known or heard of as being something like the butterfly. So these dances really have the same kind of root from the 19th century, and that's Black social dances. I'm Tommy DeFrance.
And so there we got it, right? Now we can go back and figure out what Mike Jack was talking about. He was connecting the history, right? The indigenous culture, but at the same time, without being an indigenous American or what some refer to as the foundational Black Americans, you have no clue as the context of the contributions we've put onto society, and that contribution has not only been taken but intermixed and then basically classified as something else, overtaken to the point where you don't even recognize it's foremothers and forefathers. All right. So we're gonna continue on with what Mike was talking about. Peace to the real one.
You need to know that. You must know that. All the forms of popular music, from jazz to hip hop to bebop to soul, you know, to you talk about the different dances, from the cakewalk to the jitterbug to the Charleston to break dancing. All these are forms of Black dancing. What's more important than giving people a sense of escapism? And escapism meaning entertainment. What would we be like without a song? Okay? What would we be like without a dance? Joy and laughter and music. These things are very important, but if you go to the bookstore down the corner, you won't see one black person on the cover. You'll see Elvis Presley. You'll see the Rolling Stones. But where are the real pioneers who started it? Otis Blackwell was a prolific, phenomenal writer. He wrote some of the greatest Elvis Presley songs ever. And this was a black man. He died penniless. And no one knows about this man. They didn't write a book about it. I know. I searched all over the world. And I met his daughter today, and I was so honored. To me, it was on the same level of meeting the Queen of England when I met her. I'm here to speak for all injustice. You gotta remember something. The minute I started breaking the all-time record in record sales, I broke Elvis's records. I broke Beatles' records.
That's funny. Everybody's so hyped, right, to cheer for every accolade that he throw out there. Sometimes, the melanated rich can be so extra. But no doubt, they was feeling what he was saying, and, they understood where he was coming from. All right?
The minute it became the all-time best-selling albums in history in the Guinness Book of World Records, overnight, they called me a freak. They called me a homosexual. They called me a child molester. They said I tried to bleach my skin. They made everything to turn the public against me. And this was all complete conspiracy. You have to know that. I know my race. I just look in the mirror. I know I'm black.
All right, so he acknowledged it right there, right? I mean, let's get it back one more again.
This was all complete conspiracy. You have to know that. I know my race. I just look in the mirror. I know I'm black. It's time, I love you more. It's time for a change. And let's not leave this building and forget what has been said. Put it into your heart. Put it into your subconscious mind. And let's do something about it. We have to. We have to. Because it's been a long, long time coming. And a change has got to come. So let's hold our torches high and get the respect that we deserve. I love you. I love you.
They over there going crazy. All right, we're going to get into one more example that Mike Jack was trying to put us on. And we're going to definitely see how this shifts us into the direction we're going. Peace, peace.
And we want the artists to be free. We don't want the companies bigger than the artists. We want the people respected and the stars that we make stars to shine in the galaxy for us. We were already off the wall. And we coming off our seats to stand up for justice in the music industry.
This is very important because throughout the years, black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this incredible, incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And it's been, the record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Now let me say this.
Sony Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
All right, so you see how he broke that down. All right, and this is basically where we shift the direction that we're going in, because this is where we start to dive into that under layer, right? And we get that 3D meaning on what's going on. From a 2D perspective, he's letting you know, yeah, it's about the music, it's about the industry. But from a 3-dimensional perspective, he's letting you know there are monstrous, ritualistic, what we were referring or trying to identify as that satanic activity happening. All right, within the industry. And this is at a high level, obviously, because Mike wasn't just he was just no average, Joe on doing this, no pun intended.
Now let me say this.
Sony Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
Into this way, and whoever else, artists that are on their label that are being sucks. Sony sucks. Sony sucks. I want to hear the guys at the back.
Just has people all in the street, you know what I'm saying? Never to do it like that again. Peace to the real ones. We're gonna carry on. All right, so here in this drop, we basically started highlighting what these rituals could be, right? And where they're sourced from, and just basically everything that goes into them. So if you haven't gotten this drop, I suggest you go ahead and, tag along into it. We're going to push the envelope with this next one as we continue to expound. Peace, peace. So here's this article I came across, and it's painting out the satanic origins of racism. All right. It says, considering the state. Go back. Hey, what happened? All right. It says, considering the state of our country's current racial climate, we could all learn something by opening our eyes to the hypocrisy embedded in using religious indoctrination to fuel systematic injustice and discrimination both in government and community politics alike. While some of us attempt to delude themselves into thinking that we live in a post-racial society, with each passing day becomes abundantly clear that this concept is a farce. Racial tensions are increasing throughout the nation, and negative attitudes towards minorities have exacerbated substantially, with many thanks due to those who misuse religious principles to gain political power while simultaneously backing racist arguments and ideas. For example, take hate-mongering Republican candidates Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, who, for some reason or another, have amassed large evangelical Christian followings, many of which presidential debates are left scratching our heads, trying to understand what about profanity and hate speech is so enticing to devoted members of the Christian faith. Certainly, racial and ethnic discrimination are ugly traits we witness within our own religious communities as well. In churches and mosques alike, these rising tensions know no limits, but what do mainstream faiths like Christianity and Islam actually have to say about racism? Question, right? It says the original sin is crazy. Because this picture alone, or the types of it, is, a depiction of so said racism, right? It says the original sin is often attributed to the first of mankind, but these Abrahamic faiths agreed that Satan was the first to transgress against God. According to the Holy Scriptures that compose the doctrine of Christianity and Islam, the devil was a sinner long before Adam and Eve. According to biblical canon, Satan's heart was corrupted by his ego, and his desire to overtake God in heaven was his fatal sin. Ezekiel 28 offers a recount of Satan's demise through the description of a proud earthly king who had been Satan's vessel. And I sort of feel like this is a like a projection in a sense, because if that were the case, Satan would definitely have to represent an energy or entity of identity, right? His name, or the being referred to as just Satan, and Satan being this overall entity alone, I don't think suffices, because it just means adversary. All right, Satan just means adversary. It's not an entity, a spirit, a body, a function, anything of that sort outside of just opposing opposites, right? I mean, we'll go ahead and dive into it more, but this is the purpose of such a build, such a drop, to go ahead and get what we can to make sense of this, because how can racism be connected to Satanism or satanic origins if Satan itself isn't just some random entity? All right. It says your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. These verses heavily imply that Satan became infatuated with his own intelligence and beauty and assumed that he deserved the glory that befitted God alone. Now, here's something that I want to ask. How is it that Satan was able to see itself? Unless we're talking about there being mirrors, or a type of mirror, or a type of reflection somewhere in this heavenly realm at the moment, right? At this point in time and description. How is Satan able to get a glimpse or a reflection of its own intelligence and beauty? You know, to the point where it can marvel at itself. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is a notion of scrying, right? So when we're talking about activities dealing with that, it is considered to be something in this ballpark. But I mean, is there mirrors just floating around in heaven? And this once high esteemed angel was walking around just staring at, its reflection in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? To that point, to be so vain. And keep in mind, if that was the act, if that was the very thing to get him sent down from its place, well, how can we apply that today as far as vanity and pride go, right? It says Satan allowed his angelic privilege to fester into conceit. His arrogance poisoned his mind. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till unrighteousness was found in you. So is this also stating, well, let's see, biblical descriptions of the devil position him at war with God, and that his sin was pride, one of the 7 deadly sins. When he was cast down to earth, Satan pronounced God and man his immortal enemy. Now that's kind of deep, right? Because then Satan, I guess from this point on, begins to target man as such, right? So we're going to go ahead and continue on. Hold on. All right, so here we have, it says, the Quranic telling of Satan's fall is analogous, but it entails a clear description and an earlier telling of his transgression. According to Islamic tradition, Satan was a jinn who rose to the ranks of the angels due to his righteousness and diligent servitude. As the story goes, God ordered all the angels, including Satan, to bow before the first man. All right, his newest perfect creation. Satan refused this command and transitioned almost instantaneously from God's favorite to the most damned creation of all time. Now, if that is the case, this is the very first example of racism, right? And let's keep this in mind. I mean, are we really likening the fact of Satan to be a jinn, an angel? And if that is the case, seeing how in Islamic belief it is said that Satan was commanded or ordered, right? So does that entail that Satan and angels were created of free will? Is that the case? Because as far as we knew, as far as, it's been pushed, is that you have a set of angels who are agreeable and then a set who are disagreeable, right? So dealing with this agreeable, disagreeable, we're talking about angels not really having the ability to have the choice or have free will. They are where they are. But if that's the case, then this is implying that the Most High has created angels with free will, with option to resist. But if that's the case, how would the Most High not know this was going to happen when he ordered? And how powerful would Satan be to resist and refuse? Okay, that really goes to pose the question. Furthermore, what is this saying about the actions of those who chose to participate in this example of racism? Because according to the Islamic faith and belief, Satan, along with the rest of the angels, were ordered to bow before the first man. All right, the first man. And according to, evolution, right, we know who the first man is. I like to refer to that first man as the autochton, right? One sprung from the soil he inhabits. The aborigines, the natives, the primitive inhabitants, literally those that sprung from the land itself. All right. The Pelasgians. All right. The Pelasgians as an auto self, right? Self-produced from the land, the earth, the soil. So we're talking about the aborigines, the natives, the naturals, the primitive inhabitants, right? All across the soil, all across the earth, all across the plain, all across the land, which reminds me of blades of grass. Right? When we're dealing with blades of grass, we're talking about that which grows all across the plain. All right. So we're talking about autochthonous. Those who are autochthonous. The autochthon. Is that what we're getting at? It says this sudden transition is immensely crucial in comprehending the gravity of Satan's crime. In the Quran, Satan says to God, I am better than him, right? Adam or Adamah. All right, and when you break down Adamah, you get your autochthonous. All right, so autochthonous is the Adamah. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. Interestingly, Islam provides a clear recount of the precise moment Satan turned against God. His deviation is clearly fueled by pride, but his justification is embedded in pride's sinful derivative, racism. And this is where things start to, really take that turn, right? Because if this is the case, this would be the satanic origin of racism, that pride, that justification of hate, right? To the point of the unthinkable. It says fire and mud, the primordial elements that comprise jinn and man, can be seen as the precursors to race and ethnicity, and are the grounds upon which Satan defies the Lord. I am better than him, the unbelliched exclamation of conceit that casts Satan into the depths of hell for all eternity. Okay, and then they start to get into, the New Testament and so on and so on. But before we jump into all that, or if we even jump into all that, when mentioning grass, right? Well, when we're talking about the autogenous is sprung from the soil, just like the grass, right? And when you're digging on grass is the herb, the plant, right? A type of turf, a
fraction of a raindrop.
All right, so here we have a type of earth, right? It's also a young shoot or sprout. It says to grow or become green. All right, to grow or become green. So when we go to grow, check out, right? Grass is related to grow. So to grow is to flourish, to increase, develop, get bigger. All right, it says to grow. To grow, to become green. See grass, applied in Middle English to human beings. You see what's going on? To human beings. This is within the 1300. So if grass grows everywhere on the earth, what makes you think that man didn't do the same? All right, so we're talking autochton. We're talking man that grows like grass on the earth, as in the sense to increase, right? To gain in the estimation. All right. So when we're digging on this, they're saying that racism is despised, right, in these Abrahamic beliefs. Yet, for some reason, it was these certain people that use these religion, these faiths, to actually strengthen their stance on racism. It actually fueled it, right? So if this article is pointing out the fact that Satan, him refusing to bow down to the first man, who we just saw is the autogenous, right? The first man, where was that? Right here. The first man is the autogenous, is the aboriginal, because that's exactly what those words means, right? It means to be the first, the primitive inhabitant. So we're talking about the first man. This Satan refused to bow before the first man, thus creating the first act of racism, if this is the case. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue on. Peace. When we deal into satanic rituals and activity, magic is always a thing that pops up. So if we saw that it's this energy that represents Satan, right? And Satan is the accumulation of said energy. And we see that racism has its origin in Satan's activity. Well, it made me interested to break down this form of magic, because magic is related to witchcraft, and witchcraft, goes back into the satanic activities. So they say, right? So this magic is an art of influencing, pay attention, the art of influencing or predicting events and producing marvels. We know who the marvels are, right? So producing marvels using hidden natural forces. All right, let that sink into your mind a little bit. Let's get this back. Producing marvels. Producing marvels using hidden natural forces. also supernatural art, especially the art of controlling the actions of spiritual or superhuman beings, magical or sorcery. All right. One of the members of the learned priestly class to be able have power. Now we're gonna get into another breakdown in another installment to break this down exactly. Okay, it's already within the works, but as you see, the transfer sense of ledger domain, an optical illusion, right, which basically means a trick. It displaced Old English witchcraft, see which meant the magician, and that was from the Irish druid, which meant priest magician. So here we have priest as in your con, right? We're talking about your conhood. So magic was a natural function of the original con, or the autochthonous, right? The autochthonous being the first man. Magic was a natural process, a natural property, a natural power that was bestowed upon the first original autochthon, the original man. Because here we see that it was an art, all right, that produced marvels using hidden natural forces, also referred to as supernatural art, and it was the activity of the priest or the Khan. Right, and you had to be of a priestly class and a member of this priestly class to be learned, all right, or initiated. As we carry on, we see that witch, the term witch, denotes to a female magician, a sorceress. In later use, especially a woman supposed to have dealings with the devil or evil spirits, and to be able, by their own cooperation, to perform supernatural acts. All right. It also has the term sorcerer. We saw wizard, which is a man who practices witchcraft or magic. To practice witchcraft, to use witchcraft, a soothsayer. Okay, here we see none of the proposed etymologies of which is free from the phonetic or semantic difficulties. Klein suggests connection with OE English as in wiggle or divination, and wig or we within idol. All right. They also say that the nouns represent a Proto-Germanic word, the wickjas, which is a necromancer, one who wakes the dead, the summoning of the dead. Okay, so all of these things go into mind as to what a witch or sorcerer is, right, from their standpoint. What I want to focus on is this wizard, right? Because if you're picking up from the Zep Tepi drop, we were digging on something specific. And we'll see the connection right in just a bit. Here we have wizard, which is a philosopher, a sage, right? A philosopher, a sage, a wise ard, right? A wise ard, which is the magic, a sorcerer, a witch, who basically means to know. A sage that knows, sense, and perhaps to know the future. The meaning, one with magical power, one proficient in the occult sciences. Alright? In the occult sciences. Now it says the one with magical power. Wise being the root, the main word in wiz, right? In wizard, wise, wiz. So let's continue to push. Let's go on forward. Here we have wise. Wise is the learned, the sagacious, the cunning, sane, prudent, discreet, experienced, having the power of discerning and judging rightly. Wise, to see. Aware, cunning, first attested, to know, wit. Now, I believe that this serpent was the wisdom. I believe that serpent was the Sophia, right? I know it's hard to really pinpoint what I mean, but the serpent is known for being cunning, which means that the serpent was known for being wise. And if the serpent was the one that opened the eyes of Eve, then that meant that Eve was able to see, making Eve wise. And she then made Adam wise, so that they know, that they knew, that they were wit, they were aware. Okay, they became intelligent. That is the wisdom, and that comes straight from Amma. That is the Sophia. That is the spark. What Optimus Prime will call it the Allspark. All right, because wise is related to sapient. All right, sapient being a sage, that which discerns, of discerning. Okay, shrewd, knowing, discreet, well acquainted with true value of things, like Greek, Sophos or Sophia, right? Because this is what we're talking about. Again, the Sophia, right? We're coming straight off the Zet Tepi talk. A specialized use of the present participle of superior, of things, to taste, have taste, of persons, to have discernment, be wise. All right, to perceive, mind, understanding, thought. And they call you supposedly the Homo sapien. Right? Let's continue. Peace, peace. So to have this sapience is to have this wisdom, to have this understanding, to be of this sageness, which is the reasonable soul. The reasonable soul. And this is you, my naga. That reasonable soul is the thing that distinguishes humans from beasts. And this is why there's such a significance, right? The soul that is the Sophia. That is Amma. That is the Wa to your Ha. And when we put them together, we have Hawa. Right? The spirit and the soul and the spirit. We're talking good taste, good sense, discernment, intelligence, wisdom, sensible, shrewd, knowing, discreet, well acquainted with the true value of things. The intelligent taste. So we're talking about that spark. This is what made the so-called Homo sapien different from everyone else. And we know we're just talking about the first man. The first womb man, the first man. We're talking about the autogenous, who resemble the blades of grass, who were made in harmony with the sun and the heavenly lights. And just as every blade reaches out to grow, so does man. Alright, we just digging on talk time. So we're talking about sapiens, the reasonable soul. Alright, that which distinguishes humans from beasts. Knowing what we know about, the de-evolution of man, then we can see why this plays such a significance. Because you have a people who originated completely from the source, and then you have those who originated from beasts. Now they said magic was also tied into sorcery. Sorcery, they say, is witchcraft, magic, and enchantment, an act or instance of sorcery, the supernatural state of affairs, seemingly magical works. All right, but specifically, literally, one who influences the fate or fortune of another. Okay, and this is where it gets really crafty. Right, we're talking about one who can influence one's faith or fortune. And this is where that negative connotation starts to take place within sorcery, right? So if you're a magician that practices sorcery and you like to influence the fate or fortune of others, well, that's what makes you a warlock. Right? A warlock. And what is a warlock? A warlock is a traitor, a liar, an enemy, a devil. Faith, fidelity, a compact agreement covenant. Right? It's composed of the truth. But the second element is to lie. A deceiver, a liar. So what was Mike talking about when it came to let's get it back, right? What was Mike talking about?
It's time for me to get set up for therapy, and I use this room as my office.
Go for it, right?
How can you smile when your heart has been broken
And we want the artists to be free. We don't want the companies bigger than the artists. We want the people respected and the stars that we make stars to shine in the galaxy for us. We were already off the wall. And we coming off our seats to stand up for justice in the music industry.
This is very important because throughout the years, black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this incredible, incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And it's been, the record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Now let me say this.
Sony Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
All right, so where are we at with it? Warlock, right? So he said that he was devilish. He also has, I think in the other one he was mentioning that this guy was, lying, and he lied on the community. He also said that the history books were full of lies, right? Here we have the primary sense of oath breaker, given special application to the devil, but also used of giants and cannibals. Now this is continuing from the Nephilim part 7, right? The Nephilim Neanderthal part 7. They always seem to look like this in these movies, in these rituals, in these things that take place. And keep in mind the type of people that are up under these garments. Their type of character, what they do outside their ritualistic activities. And then keep in mind the things that they do during these ritualistic activities that are listed as something satanic. Again, we're just talking projection. But all of this has an origin. And this origin is what we're building on, because this is spiritual warfare. All right. So here we're talking about the cannibals and how this cannibalism was an active satanic activity. So here that we see this warlock, this specific wizard that lies, right? And that is one in league with the devil, which is the male equivalent of a witch. This is going back all the way to the 1300s. This oath breaker given special application to the devil goes back all the way to 1000. Right? An oath breaker. And when we were digging on what was it? Was it this one? Sapiens. Was it Sapiens? Let's see if we can get it. Or maybe that was it. Oh, I know what it was. It was Grow. Right? So while we were in the energy of growing, going back all the way to 1300, as far as this autochtonous goes, this application of the devil, this application of Satan goes all the way back to year 1000. So it's showing a true origin of the satanic energy, right? Which is a warlock, an oath breaker, that lies, that destroys the truth, that tries to change and alter and influence the fortune and faith of someone else, right? And this is where the whole, negative connotation to this magic and sorcery and being a witch comes from, which is why I always find it, weird that a lot of women claim to want to be a witch. They claim to want to do so out of the power of patriarchy and a sense of empowerment, right? But as we'll see, to be a witch is to purposefully influence one's faith or fortune, which means you're practicing a sense of malice, right? You're coming at it from a negative standpoint because of the type of magic you're participating in. As we'll see, because magic, as we got, was what? Art, right? Magic is art of influence. So arts being a skill as a result of learning or practice. So when one's a part of the arts, they are learning magic. Okay, a work of art, practical skill, a business or a craft. All right. Manner or mode, which is to prepare, to fit together. Etymologically akin to the Latin arma, which is weapons. See arm. Okay, art, magic, the arts. In Middle English, usually with a sense of skill in scholarship and learning, especially in the 7 sciences or liberal arts. This sense remains in the Bachelor of Arts, the meaning human workmanship as opposed to nature, the meaning system of rules and traditions for performing certain actions. The sense of skill and cunning and trickery is attested by the late 16th century. All right, the skill in creative arts. So we're talking about art and creativity. It was known as the human workmanship. So this lets you know that the natural man, right, the autochthonous, the first man, right, was building in. Why is this psyche tripping on this? The first man, right, had this natural capability of performing magic, of being able to access it because it was a part of the arts, and to be of the arts was to be of the craft. And this is in its original entirety. All right. Before it was hijacked, this was natural because we're talking about the hidden forces of nature. You know, every time Hawa stepped in on the behalf of the Israelites, it was due or seen as a form of magic. The powers of the supernatural. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue on to the next one. Peace. So here we have craft, right? And craft is the power, physical strength, or might. It is the strength or skill, the strength, the virtue. The ultimate etymology is uncertain. The sense expanded in Old English to include skill, dexterity, art, science, talent via a notion of mental power. In the Old English, it meant the meaning of trading, handicraft, employment, requiring special skills or dexterity, also something built or made. The word still was used for might and power. And so now you start thinking about the builders of pyramids. All right, to exercise a craft, to build. And we're talking about the building of pyramids, hence the power, the mental power, the expression of the physical strength, the might of one's mind, the capability and the honing and the harnessing of all that mental capacity through your pineal gland. You see what's going on? We're talking about the craft. This was later watered down and hijacked to form your secret societies of the European orders. Hence Freemasonry, Rosicrucians, you name it. All right, it was through the craft, but the craft naturally is what came from you. All right, this was a natural expression, right? And if you surfing the wave, if you really surfing the wave, will just talking about craft should, put you in another mindset, right? It should be bringing us something very familiar if you're surfing the wave. Let's get to it. Peace. Yeah, see, if you were surfing the wave, you knew exactly where we was going with it. Because now we're talking about love, craft, country. You know? And for those that know, Well, now that we're on this topic and we'll dive into it more, right, you can see why this show is no longer on the air, because this show was actually giving Negroes, those of the original blood, the indigenous blood, the awareness of what this magic really was and how it actually affects us and the involvement and how we've been excluded from practicing it. The practitioner of magic is really what goes on in these secret societies, this occult, and they exclude you from participating in it. Okay, they don't want you practicing the natural arts. I'm breaking down to you what the magic really is, and they don't want you participating in it. So they gave you religion. They substituted your magic for religion while they go ahead and try to practice it. But this show showed you that magic was only amplified to the highest by those of the pure blood, those who were naturally meant to do this. Because this is about the percentage of the blood, right? And the more closer to the origin your blood is, the more powerful your connection to this magic, to this frequency, to the capability of harnessing the supernatural hidden forces were. It made you the greater or the better wizard. All right. See, we can see here from the show. Oh, let's go back. Alright, when they were in this particular part of the show, they were dealing with their memories being swiped. They knew they were under a spell but couldn't tell what was going on. You know, they was out there lost, had been attacked by monstrous beings. And this show kind of showed you how to fight back against all that, which is why they did not want it to continue. They did not need the indigenous Naga, the indigenous Neji, to remember such things. But you're surfing the wave of natural by law, and we're just letting you know that you are the marvel. So to further break this down, we're gonna go ahead and get into a little clip. Alright. And we're gonna see just exactly how this involves with the build. Alright, if I can get this if I can get this back. Look, this shit tripping. Goodness. Alright, piece of the road.
The dawn of a new era. Thank you all for coming to witness.
No need to thank us. We didn't want to be here. I understand y'all belong to a club called the Order of Ancient Dawn. I happened across your bylaws earlier this evening. Now, I got some experience with fraternal societies, being a part of Prince Hall Freemasons myself. Anybody know who Prince Hall was? He was an abolitionist who joined the Massachusetts militia to fight for independence. And he wanted to join the local Freemasons, but Tick, remind me why he wasn't allowed in. Because he was a colored man. I was not surprised to learn from your bylaws that your order wouldn't have admitted Prince Hall either. But then I kept reading and I found there's a loophole. Men who are direct descendants of Titus are automatically members.
Now notice how he said he was reading the bylaws. And what's the name of this channel? Natural by Law. You see what's going on? When you understand what bylaws are, then you understand just how natural you are and how high this goes within the order and the scheme of things, especially when referring to the generations of creation. Again, I say it again, the generations of creation, because creation has generations. and you fall in line with such generations being a part of this creation. So there are genetic ties to this, and you happen to fall within the grand scheme of things as a perfect creation. We've seen in the Islamic faith how this was bestowed upon the angels and Satan refused. Right? So he said he read the bylaws. And when you understand these bylaws, then you understand you are natural by law.
I was not surprised to learn from your bylaws that your order wouldn't have admitted Prince Hall either, but then I kept reading and I found there's a loophole. Men who are direct descendants of Titus are automatically members. In fact, they're not just any old members, they're what's called sons among sons. And as you all know, they can give orders to other regular old members.
Except Samuel. So get up and get the fuck out.
From the Library of Congress in...
All right. I don't know why they took us forward to that joint, but let's get it back.
Thank you all for coming to Whiteness.
No need to thank us. We didn't want to be here. I understand y'all belong to a club called the Order of Ancient Dawn. I happened across your bylaws earlier this evening. Now, I got some experience with fraternal societies, being a part of Prince Hall Freemasons myself. Anybody know who Prince Hall was? He was an abolitionist who joined the Massachusetts militia to fight for independence. And he wanted to join the local Freemasons, but Tick, remind me why he wasn't.
Now, shout out to UB News for exposing all of this on the inside and outside, and basically how all of these guys are part of the go along, get along. Because it's no longer a part of this original magic, even though a lot of brothers tap into this to try to find it, right? They try to find this practice for themselves and they try to dive into it. But as they end up finding out, especially when it comes to their rituals a part of this so-called society is just the experience and to go through the mistreatment or the treatment of the Caucasian. I mean, that is the ritual behind, the Freemason activity as of today, right? Which is why it's referred to as a Freemason, because they're now emphasizing their freedom in these days and time. But on understanding the origin and how this started, they were not. And they were held behind in knowledge of a certain degree, which is a 30 degree. They're frozen, right? Water freezes at 33 degrees. So they're frozen in their knowledge. All right. They don't gain the 360 perspective. All right. They don't go back to 9. They stay stuck at the 6. Okay. So when we're talking about this comparison, this back and forth, it's no longer what it was, because you don't need to practice anything secret to be what it is that you are naturally. You are naturally a magician. You are naturally the best when it comes in the expression of the arts, of all art forms. You are the best in its expression naturally. Okay, so you don't have to dive and delve into these things just to go ahead and practice this magic. But the magic that is accessible, it's all low vibrational, right? And we'll see as we'll continue this build.
Allow me. Because he was a colored man. I was not surprised to learn from your bylaws that your order wouldn't have admitted Prince Hall either. But then I kept reading and I found there's a loophole. Men who are direct descendants of Titus are automatically members. In fact, they're not just any old members, they're what's called sons among sons. And as you all know, they can give orders to other regular old members.
Except Samuel. So get up and get the fuck out.
See, right then and there, he realized his sovereignty. He realized his power. He realized his magic. He realized his blood. He realized his genealogy. And at that point in time, he was able to stand on business and to move forward within this episode. All right. Also, for those who don't know, Prince Hall is also Benjamin Banneker. So we're going to jump into that wave. Peace, peace.
In a world where barriers seemed insurmountable, where societal norms dictated the limits of one's potential, there emerged a beacon of brilliance, a testament to the boundless human spirit, Benjamin Banneker. Have you ever encountered a story of such remarkable resilience and intellectual prowess?
You hear these words he's using? All of this has to deal, and it revolves around the term sapient, as in the Homo sapien. He's describing the perfection of the so-called Homo sapien from a intellectual standpoint, an intelligence standpoint, a cranial brain powered usage standpoint, which always takes them and drives them into awe. Once your functionalities are operating on that level, you become complete masters, wizards, magicians. You become the Marvel Managa, like in real time. All right. And this is what they dedicated to Prince Hall after Benjamin Banneker. But they have to dilute it, because if Benjamin Banneker is this master designer, then where would the true understanding of the esoteric rely? It would rely with the melanated rich. But this was during a time of racism, which is the opposite of natural. So, of course, racism was operating in a satanic formation, which was the covering, the concealing, the hiding, the shushing of such informations and complete silencing it from the Negroes, the indigenous Niji, the Nagas.
In a world where barriers seemed insurmountable, where societal norms dictated the limits of one's potential, there emerged a beacon of brilliance, a testament to the boundless human spirit, Benjamin Banneker. Have you ever encountered a story of such remarkable resilience and intellectual prowess? A self-taught prodigy, Benjamin Banneker defied the odds, rising above the limitations imposed upon him to become a celebrated mathematician, astronomer, and almanac author. Imagine the audacity of a man born into a world that often sought to suppress the intellectual aspirations of African Americans, yet he soared, his brilliance illuminating the path for generations to come. Join us on a journey through the extraordinary life of Benjamin Banneker, where we'll unravel the mysteries of the cosmos alongside him. Witness.
You heard how he said that? We'll unravel the mysteries of the cosmos along beside him. This is exactly what Natural's trying to tell you. This is what we were building on in the Z-Tepi part 1 and 2. But, you know, we was too up in the ether. I get it, but this is hopefully something that'll give you more ground, so when you go backward and check those drops out, you be right on time, right within the flow, right within the Wata, Shabbat.
Generations of African Americans, yet he soared, his brilliance illuminating the path for generations to come. Join us on a journey through the extraordinary life of Benjamin Banneker, where we'll unravel the mysteries of the cosmos alongside him, witness his groundbreaking discoveries, and delve into his profound correspondence with Thomas Jefferson. Prepare to be inspired, to have your perceptions challenged, and to witness the transformative power of an indomitable spirit. So, if you're ready to embark on this captivating adventure, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss this extraordinary tale.
Peace to the real ones. Story of Benjamin Banneker. Go ahead and get it. We're going to carry on. Peace, peace. So I found this PDF and I was reading. And, you know, it was really starting to break down on the origin of this so-called satanic activity within society. And it referred to me, this article we're looking at right now. Practicing of magic in society forms into two different sections or sects. right? They call the left-hand path and the right-hand path, which are the two opposing approaches to magic. Now, this is interesting because this also plays into the political scheme. So if you pay attention to the political parties, it would seem that the left-hand path would be your Democrats, right, or your liberals, and your right-hand path would be your Republicans and your conservatives, your traditionalists. All right, and these two go back and forth. So if you haven't heard of the left-hand path or the right-hand path, pay attention to your political parties and watch how they fight and debate amongst each other. You sit in the background and just observe and pick up on the terminology being used, and I guarantee you will see both parties, accusing one of being the other. The left hand will call the right hand, and the right hand will call the left hand, the left hand. And this is what they're talking about, right? This terminology is used by various groups involved in the occult and ceremonial magic. In some definitions, the left-hand path is equated with malicious black magic, while the right-hand path is equated with benevolent white magic. All right, and you see what's going on? Your chessboard, your black and white duality. This is the crux of it, right? Other occultists have criticized this definition, believing that the left-right dichotomy refers merely to different kinds of working and does not necessarily connote good or bad magical actions. Other practitioners state the difference between the two is the desired outcome of the right is to be beside God and to serve him, while the left believe in self-deification and bow to no one. So this sounds like that Satan not wanting to bow down to the original man, right? Because God ordered all of the angels, including Satan, to bow before the first man, his newest perfect creation. Satan refused this command and transitioned almost instantaneously from God's favorite to most damned creation of all time. All right, so that's how the left hand sounds, right? The left hand path are the self-deifications and ones who bow to no one. In most recent definitions, are based on the Indian use of the terms in Tantra. The right hand path, or the RHP, is seen as a definition for those magical groups that follow specific ethical codes and adopt social convention, while the left hand path, or LHP, adopts the opposite attitude, espousing the breaking of taboo and the abandoning of set morality. All right. The right-hand path is commonly thought to refer to magical or religious groups which adhere to a certain set of characteristics. They divide the concepts of mind, body, and spirit into three separate, albeit interrelated entities. They adhere to a specific moral code and a belief in some form of judgment, such as karma or threefold law. The occultist Dion Fortune considered Abrahamic religions to be RHP. Okay, so again, they're tying in all the popular religions as we know it into being of the right side. Right, the right-handed path. The left-hand path, historian Dave Evans studied self-professed followers of the left-hand path in the early 21st century, making several observations about their practices. They often reject societal convention as the status quo, which some suggest as in a search for spiritual freedom. As a part of this, LHP followers embrace magical techniques that would traditionally be viewed as taboo, for instance, using sex magic or embracing satanic imagery. As Morgan wrote, the breaking of taboos makes magic more potent and can lead to reintegration and liberation. For example, the eating of meat in a vegetarian community can have the same liberating effect as anal intercourse in a sexually inhibited society. And that should definitely say a lot as to what's going on. All right. They often question religious or moral dogma instead of adhering to forms of personal anarchism. They often embrace sexuality and incorporate it into magical rituals. All right. And here we have the breaking down of such a group. Okay, so this is where, you know, politics seems to line up. Here we see they have the Baphomet, which represents the left-hand path, which, I mean, I don't know how many times I can say it, but it begins to make sense when you view it in this manner. All right. Carrying on. Here we have Satanism, right? Satanism refers to a group or religious, ideological, or philosophical beliefs based on Satan. Now here they're going to say also called Lucifer, which is another interesting point, but we won't go down that rabbit hole today. It says particularly the worship or veneration of him. All right. Satan is a figure of the devil in Christian belief, a fallen angel and leader of the devils who tempts humans into sin. For many centuries, the term was used by various Christian groups as an accusation against the ideological opponents. Actually, self-identified Satanism is recent and is thought to have begun with the founding of the Church of Satan by Anton LaVey in the United States since 1966. That church being an atheistic group, that does not believe in a literal Satan. Okay, sharing historical connections and family resemblance with Satanism and sometimes overlapping with it are paganism and ceremonial magic and other dark entities such as Set, Lilith, Hecate, and Chaos from the occult and the left-hand path, Maliliu. Okay, so they've definitely been accused of being devil worshippers, but this was only done by other Christians. And so technically within the origin of such parties, it was used as an attack to pinpoint on one another. These societies of Christians, these different factions or sections of Christians would fight amongst each other and then, you know, push Satanism onto the opposing group. Devil and Society tab, we have the historical and anthropological research suggests that nearly all societies have developed the idea of a sinister and anti-human force that can hide itself within society. The commonly involves a belief in witches, a group of individuals who invert the norms of their society and seek to harm their community, for instance by engaging in incest, murder, and cannibalism. And this is what witches tend to partake in as a witch, these practices. Which is why it would be crazy, because I don't know why you would want to associate yourself with being a witch to this degree, knowing that it actually has this term to it, right? This energy to it. You know, you can practice magic naturally in a peaceful manner without having to be a witch. You don't need to be a witch or a wizard for that instance to be a magician. Allegations of witchcraft may have different causes and serve different functions within a society. For instance, they may serve to uphold social norms, to heighten the tension in existing conflicts in individuals, or to scapegoat certain individuals for various social problems. All right. So Here we see that Satanism had no real meaning in an angel or an entity sense in the original Christian or Hebrew form. It wasn't until the Christians came along and they somehow attached Satan to be an angel. But up until that point, in the context of the Old Testament in the Hebrew, it just meant adversary. All right. It just meant adversary. It didn't necessarily have a personification as a single entity. And furthermore, these accusations were used against, brother sections of faith. All right. Yet, as we see, those Christian groups regarded as heretics by the Roman Catholic Church were treated differently, with theologians arguing that they were deliberately worshiping the devil. This was accompanied by claims that such individuals engaged in acts of evil, incestuous sexual orgies, the murder of infants, and cannibalism. All stock accusations that had previously been leveled at Christians themselves in the Roman Empire. In Christian iconography, the devil and demons were given the physical traits of figures from classical mythology, such as the god Pan, right? Faunus and Faun and the satyrs. Now, surfing this wave on this channel, you exactly know what time it is as soon as we say this, and this is why we always tie back to the same thing, because no matter how you want to slice it, it always comes back to these cave-like people. All right, so we're going to continue to dive into this. Peace. Here we have the occult. All right. The occult, sometimes called esotericism, and literally meaning unseen or obscured, is the category of practices, beliefs, and knowledge in all fields which remains hidden or encrypted from others, usually the general public, either deliberately or incidentally. Commonly, it also refers to paranormal or supernatural knowledge, beliefs, and practices which generally fall outside the scope of mainstream religion and science, including phenomenon of otherworldly agencies such as magic and its varied spells. While experimental spiritualist secret societies and intelligence agencies are best known for using occultism in the modern world, it has displayed a major role throughout history, most commonly used to defend sacred knowledge from persecution, an example by practitioners of folk spirituality and alchemy to defend against widespread persecution and extermination by the Catholic Church. It says occultism may also be implemented for the protection of the general public by insulating dangerous information such as weapons of mass destruction within. Now it's crazy how they say that, right? Insulating dangerous information such as weapons of mass destruction, and we got that art, right? When we're digging on art was related to weapons. So this is why we're still talking about magic. All right. This is why it's so important. It's pertinent. Okay. It says within systems of scarcity, it is often used to maintain a competitive advantage over others who are not initiated. Sometimes occultism may occur within social systems in an accidental manner, usually as a consequence of systematic dysfunction or within a disinformation system. The occult may also simply refer to and manifest with areas of perceptual limitation. All right. Now, this is where, it kind of popped off for me, because I'm sitting up here reading this and it all started to make sense, right? In astronomy, occult is used to describe when a celestial body is hidden by another. An example, when a star is covered or occulted by the moon. And parapsychology, the same Latin root indicates that the phenomenon is hidden from the physical bodily senses. An example, the subconscious. In terms of mysticism, it may refer to knowledge which is challenging or impossible to comprehend, as in the expression the great mystery. Oftentimes, underground or underworld are used to describe the domain of the occult in art and mythology, either as a reference to secret or unknowable dimensions. It can also refer to ideas like extrasensory perception and parapsychology, or hidden dimensions, sometimes mental, which are generally inaccessible within human limitations or without specialized tools or training. And movies like Mr. Glass, or Glass, I think, and the other one with what's his name, Daniel McAvoy, I think that's his name. Was it Shatter, and the movies that he was a part of? That whole thing right there is, what this topic encompasses. Okay? Because this is the type of topics that the occult participate in. But what threw me for a loop was how they said that an eclipse was once referred to as an occult, right? An occult. Now that makes sense as to why such practices are held at that time. It makes a lot of sense. So with this in mind, yeah, man. Right, we're talking about some off the wall joints. Occult meaning eclipse. Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and carry on to the next. Peace. So see, we have the etymology of occult, which is clandestine, hidden, or secret. It is the knowledge of the hidden. In common usage, occult refers to the knowledge of the paranormal, as opposed to knowledge of the measurable, usually referred to as science. The terms esoteric and arcane can also be used to describe the occult, in addition to their meanings unrelated to the supernatural. The term occult sciences was used in the 16th century to refer to astrology, alchemy, and natural magic. Alright, you see what I'm telling you? Natural magic. The marvel. The powwow of Hawa. Alright. Just wanted to bring you down right here, because they said occult qualities are the properties that have no known rationale explanation. In the Middle Ages, for example, magnetism was considered an occult quality. Ether is another such element. Alright. Newton's contemporaries severely criticized his theory that gravity was affected through action at a distance as occult. All right, so all of these things pop up. And I just thought that it was interesting that we highlight them. So let's go. All right, so here we have the tab for Wicca, also known as the craft. Now you see what they did. They hijacked your craft, the original art form when we were digging on it, right? We were digging on craft, which was the mental power, right? It was the human handiwork, right? Which was the art. This was what men did naturally. They had this might, this power, and this capability to express their physical strength by way of mental skill. So when you're thinking about builders of pyramids, this is why they marvel at the pyramids, because your ancestors were putting on this physical display of mental intelligence that was required from spirit. It came from within. It was within the spirit. All right. So here we have Wicca, which is the hijack of that practice. And it is a modern, pagan, syncretic, earth-centered religion, considered a new religious movement by scholars of religion. The path evolved from Western esotericism, developed in England during the first half of the 20th century, and was introduced to the public in 1954. Wicca draws upon ancient pagan and 20th century hermetic motifs and theological and ritual purposes. All right. It says many variations of the religion have grown and evolved over time, associated with a number of diverse lineages, sects, and denominations, referred to as traditions, each with its own organizational structure and level of centralization. Given its broadly decentralized nature, disagreements arise over the boundaries that define Wicca. Some traditions, collectively referred to as British traditional Wicca, strictly follow the initiatory lineage of Gardner and consider Wicca specific to similar traditions, excluding newer eclectic traditions. Other traditions, as well as scholars of religion, apply Wicca as a broad term for a religion with denominations that differ on some key points but share core beliefs and practices. Wicca is typically dual-theistic, venerating both a goddess and a god, traditionally conceived as the triple goddess and the horn god, respectively. All right. These deities may be regarded in a henotheistic way as having many different divine aspects, which can be identified with various pagan deities from different historical pantheons. For this reason, they are sometimes referred to as the great goddess and the great horned god, with the honorific great connoting a personification containing many other deities within their own nature. Some Wiccans refer to the goddess as lady and the god as lord to invoke their divinity. These two deities are sometimes viewed as facets of a universal pantheistic divinity, regarded as an impersonal force rather than a personal deity. Other traditions of Wicca embrace polytheism, pantheism, monism, and goddess monotheism. Wiccan celebrations encompass the cycles of the moon, known as S.R.A, and commonly associated with the triple goddess, alongside the cycles of the sun. Seasonally based festivals known as Sabbats, and commonly associated with the horn god. The Wiccan Rede is a popular expression of Wiccan morality, often with respect to the ritual practice of magic. forget the great goddess, right? So this is Wicca. So they like to embody the great goddess, and they talk about this aspect a lot when it comes to the occult and the craft and the practice of these rituals that circulate in and out of the sphere of Hollywood and unifying sections, right? And just to back that up, we're gonna go ahead and go over some detail, some things maybe you knew, maybe you didn't know. All right, so here we have the sculpture Mother Goddess, right? And it is one of the most fascinating Indus Valley civilization figures. Fashioned by hand, this clay sculpture originates in Mohenjo-Daro and dates back to around 2500 BCE. Okay, and this goes back to this expression of this Mother Goddess. So it's not just a new thing. I'm showing you the hijack because this came from your ancestors, our ancestors. Okay, but this form of magic has its origin, right? And as we'll touch on it, here's more of that Mother Goddess energy by the name of Mother Hubert, which is a witch. Right? You see the witch? This is the witch look, right? Now peep it. It says, remnant of an age long past, the mysterious Mother Hubert commands the power of ancient witchcraft to battle the evils of the present day. All right. Mother Hubert. Alright, when you really surfing the wave, you understand that this is a play on Mother Hubert. Mother Hubert was an Anunnaki goddess who basically grew jealous of the Most High Anu and wanted that seat for herself. And she was jealous, so she created beings to go against the very race she was a part of. And this led to a crucial war, right? And it even gave rise to what would one day be the up and coming of the scientist Yakub. All right. And we all know what Yakub did. Right? We know what Yakub did. So as we get these breakdowns, I mean, this is what this Mother Goddess energy, this Mother Huber introduced. Right? And it was through her, as we'll see in just a bit, that these draconian races actually came into development. So when you're claiming onto these things of being a witch, understand that it's really from a maleficent energy, a malice energy. Alright. So we're gonna go ahead and surf the wave. Peace, peace. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and get a little bit more of this Mother Huber and get more of this breakdown. Peace.
This right here is Mother Huber. She's responsible for creating the draconian reptilians, or any type of reptilian being there is. So the head commander of the draconian star system, Draco star constellation. Notice how it's shaped like a dragon? Mother Huber would be known as your fallen angel, the disagreeables, whatever you want to call it. She was one of the original scientists, but whenever things didn't go her way, she turned on Anu. This is Anu, the Most High, Mother Hoover was jealous because she didn't get that spot. What Mother Hoover did is she created these reptilians, an army of them, to try and secretly overthrow us. Then a whole war broke out in the galaxy. This right here is the raptor type of reptilian. These are the ones that are actually on Earth, the ones that eat humans, but there are good ones. And actually, Mother Hoover, what she did was she claimed she also created another race of reptilian to go and kill the ones that disagree with her. You see what I'm saying? This right here is Mother Hoover. She's responsible for creating the draconian reptilians, or any type of reptilian being there is. So the head commander of the draconian star system, Draco star constellation. Notice how it's shaped like a dragon? Mother Hoover would be known as your fallen angel, the disagreeables, whatever you want to call it. She was one of the original scientists. But whenever things didn't go her way, she turned on Anu. This is Anu.
Again, I was asking, why would this Satan entity be so caught up with, their image? As if there were, mirrors just placed all throughout heaven, and every time it passed the mirror, it just looked in the mirror for its reflection and just graveled in pride and conceit, right? I mean, it kind of sounds, without trying to be funny, but it does definitely sound like a woman, characteristics of a woman. A woman takes pride in her image in that mirror, right? The beauty, the vanity in it. When we go into deep lengths, it does tend to speak, volumes in that aspect. It's just really something to think about, because this definitely fits the whole narrative of Satan or Lucifer, so to speak, being jealous. Although I know that's not the origin name for this entity, with this story being put into context, it definitely provides much shedded light on the topic.
Anu, the Most High. Mother Hoover was jealous because she didn't get that spot. What Mother Hoover did is she created these reptilians, an army of them, to try and secretly overthrow us. Then a whole war broke out in the galaxy. This right here is the raptor type of reptilian. These are the ones that are actually on Earth, the ones that eat humans, but there are good ones. And actually, Mother Hoover, what she did was she claimed she also created another race of reptilian to go and kill the ones that disagree with her. You see what I'm saying?
All right, so here we have this tab of the Wheel of the Year. All right, it says the Wheel of the Year is an annual cycle of seasonal festivals observed by a range of modern pagans, marking the year's chief solar events, solstices and equinoxes, and the midpoints between them. British neo-pagans crafted the Wheel of the Year in the mid-20th century, combining the 4 solar events, quarter days, marked by many European peoples, with the 4 seasonal festivals, cross-quarter days, celebrated by insular Celtic peoples. Different paths of modern paganism may vary regarding the precise timing of each celebration, based on such distinctions as the lunar phase and geographic hemisphere. Observing the cycle of the seasons has been most important to many people, both ancient and modern. Modern pagan festivals that rely on the wheel are based to varying degrees on folk traditions. Regardless of actual historical pagan practices, some Wiccans use the term Sabbath to refer to each, or Sabbath to refer to each festival. All right, and we've touched on these topics plenty of times before, but as you see, right, here are the different practices. The Candlemas, also known as the Feast of the Presentation of Jesus Christ, the Feast of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, or the Feast of the Holy Encounter, is a Christian feast day commemorating the presentation of Jesus at the temple of Joseph and Mary. All right, and this is practiced within the Wicca spectrum. All right, this is magic, ritualistic magic that has religious connotations. The Rudmas is the name for the celebration of the Feast of the Cross. Okay. Where's the other one? You have Lamas, Loaf Mass Day, Hallowmas, All Saints Day or All Hallows Day. All right, the Fest of Hallows. Interesting, right? They have Lady Day, so we got that the Mother Goddess or the Lady Day. They refer to the lady, right? Lady Day. We have May Day. May Day is the European festival of ancient origins, marking the beginning of summer, usually celebrated on May 1st, around halfway between spring equinox and the summer solstice. Festivities may be held the night before, known as May Eve. Alright, then we have Midsummer Day, which is the celebration of the season of summer occurring near the date of the summer solstice, which is known in solar reckoning as the midpoint of the season. Alright. So you got all these different festivals that take place, alright, within this Wiccan activity. Alright, and this is what witches go ahead and celebrate. Now notice how a lot of these are tied back into the involvement or the story of so-called Jesus Christ, which should definitely be telling you a lot about its key functioning. Right? And it's within that where I got the memory of this movie. So here it says, let the festivities begin July 3rd, right? Midsummer. Now this movie is intense, right? It's freaking intense. And you think that all of this is just hearsay. You want to know the type of magic and rituals these people were actually participating in and practicing. Check this movie out. Right? It's definitely one to shake you up, as you'll see the rituals being performed by a population that look exactly like this. All right, these are all rituals and rites that are formed in a practice of their magic. And I'm telling you now, this is not anything light. This is heavy, heavy esoteric work. All right, I mean, their belief system is unmatched. This is real. Like, this is a reality. Alright, people actually practice this stuff. See, in this scene, she starts to scream, she starts to cry, and all the women around her begin to indulge in the same thing. They start to participate in the same thing. It's kind of creepy, man. won't lie, you know, and it just opened my mind up to the reality that everyone's practicing this magic except the Naga, except the indigenous Negro of America. And if they practice it in secret. All right, because this is the knowledge that's hidden from the profane. And in this part 2, we will break down just how and why I was able to uncover it. You know, right there in the script, man, it just hit me in the face. And I sat back and was like, wow, because when you in the spirit, when you in the reasonable spirit, that is the sapience, that is the influence of Amma Sophia, the Wa to your Ha, it's an amazing vibe. Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, by the way, we are in the ether right about now. Alright. So that's what that term midsummer remind me of, the festivals and the practice of these rituals, these festivals on such occasions. Alright, in their origin. So we're gonna continue to surf the wave. Shalom. Goetia. Right, Goetia is a type of European sorcery often referred to as witchcraft that has been transmuted through grimoires, books containing instructions for performing magical practices. The term Goetia finds its origins in the Greek word goes, which originally denoted diviners, magicians, healers, and seers. Initially, it held a connotation of low magic, implying fraudulent or deceptive magia as opposed to theurgy, which was regarded as divine magic. Grimoires, also known as books of spells or spell books, serve as an instructional manuals for various magical endeavors. They cover crafting magical objects, casting spells, performing divination, and summoning supernatural entities like angels, spirits, deities, and demons. Although the term grimoire originates from Europe, similar magical texts have been found in diverse cultures across the world. All right. So, you know, basically we're just highlighting the fact of these grimoires, these books that were used to invocate spirits and the supernatural capabilities of these angels and demons and the things of such, right? And this is what I was always saying, by using your frequency to actually take charge and call upon a so-called Dracon or angel, right? You have the capability or the power to command such entities at your will. And this is what they don't want you to know. They don't want you to be in this knowledge of information, because then you can create a whole world of difference, right? Just like the Haiti Revolution. The Haiti Revolution was a pinpoint of this because they used magic to win. They used magic to win, and they were the only ones to do it the way that they did, right? Making them universally unfuckwittable. All right. So I wanted you to see that, because it does have a contrast between low magic and divine magic. And why would a witch need to partake in divine magic as a witch, when we understand that to be a witch or a warlock is to be the devil? It is to be an oath breaker, a liar, an enemy, a traitor, a deceiver. You know, and it makes sense, right? Because, hey, maybe this is why it sounds like a curse. You dive into the idea of being a witch just to find yourself being lied to by your spouse or partner. right? You kind of welcome that energy onto yourself as a natural deceiver in your essence, as a natural liar in your essence. Theurgy, right, also known as divine magic, is one of the two major branches of the magical arts, the other being practical magic or thaumaturgy, I don't know, whatever that would be. Right? It describes the ritual practices associated with the invocation or evocation of the presence of one or more deities, also called god forms, especially with the goal of achieving henosis, which is the uniting with the divine and perfecting oneself. Okay. And so here we see that they try to connect to the one, the deity without qualities, sometimes called the good, the nous or the mind, the universal consciousness from which proceeds the psyche or the soul, including both individual and world soul, leading finally to physis or nature. So when you go and get a psyche evaluation or a psychiatrist, right, one that studies the psyche, a psychologist, this is what we're dealing with, right? The soul and nature. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into the last part before my memory runs out. Hey, how to the real ones. Let's get it. All right, so this is the video that basically brought this topic, this subject right on home to me, for me. It was after seeing this video where I was kind of like, damn, okay, this is going to be the video that bridges everything together, because I was already in a certain understanding, this understanding, this wave. And as you're going to see, he's going to say certain terms that we just went over. And it was in this realization where I was like, dang, all right, so let's surf the wave and let's see what this brother's building on right about now.
I feel like when you understand that slave owners were literally consuming our ancestors, it really contextualizes the icky feelings you get about how certain pieces of black media get consumed by larger, wider audiences. I have this theory about what the real American dream is, and I'm going to break it down in this video. But when you just spell it out, it kind of sounds like a spell, like it sounds like some creepy, ritualistic shit. And I'm not trying to say there was some mysterious wizard cult leader behind the scenes.
Wow, some mysterious wizard, right? We were
the amount of black blood. But at the same time, the only difference between a cult and a religion is how long you manage to stick around, especially when it centers the person. History, in a sense, is gyroscopic. There are often cycles within cycles within cycles, sometimes spinning together, sometimes spinning in opposite directions. And one of those cycles that I think doesn't get talked about enough is the fact that the motherfuckers who started the whole slave trade, folks in the Iberian Peninsula, had just got done with 800 years of Moorish rule. Some people still debate whether or not Moors would be considered black in a modern context, but you need only look at period paintings to know that there were many black Moors in leadership positions. And there were also many non-black Moors. It was mixed race, and moreover, they led a mixed race society. So Jews, Moors, all of these people, Christians, were all living in what is modern day Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, in relative harmony. Until the Spanish took back over, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand took back over, and then instantly we're on that bullshit. So Spanish Inquisition, they torture / expel most of the Jews from Spain. The same year, they sail to the New World, discover there's a whole half of the planet they can do their bullshit on, and are part and parcel in beginning the slave trade in earnest, along with the Portuguese. So in my eyes, in very broad strokes, in 1492, we see the pendulum of history swing, not only from a historical perspective, but from a psychological perspective. All the bullshit that happened that year, that started that year, to me, came from a place of insecurity. And I think that insecurity, coupled with a continent that had been engulfed in warfare for the entirety of the Middle Ages, set the tone for everything that would follow. And is directly related to the reasons that we saw, like a slave rebellion, like Nat Turner's rebellion, result in Nat Turner being beheaded flayed, dissected, and then having his skin turned into purses and his bones turned into trophies. Like, what is that? Like, really, what is that? It's creatively sick. I want to say more, but before I lose you, let's weave in the American dream. Culturally, the US has the same issue that its economic system has. It wants unlimited life on a limited resource. We have an expansionist culture in this country. We're supposed to be the pioneers, forging new paths, breaking new ground. For most of the US's history, that expansion was westward. But then we ran out of land to steal. So then it became a colonial project. We got to expand beyond the borders of the continental US. But the world kind of got divided up as much as it could be, and we had what we had. So then it was space. We got to go to space. That's our unifying thing, the final frontier. Why all of these frontiers? Because there is no cultural bedrock for this country to fucking stand on. And nothing unifies like a common enemy or a common goal. So the US is constantly looking for new enemies and new goals to unify what is otherwise a random assortment of people. And the most central unifier to this country has been the African American population of America.
The number one unifier of this country is the so-called African American, the Negro, the indigenous Niji, the indigenous Naga. All right, those who are from this side of the map who continue to be a target. Right, the extreme comparison, and we saw that from the very beginning of this drop. Right, we saw that from the very beginning.
There's no cultural bedrock for this country to fucking stand on, and nothing unifies like a common enemy or a common goal. So the US is constantly looking for new enemies and new goals to unify what is otherwise a random assortment of people. And the most central unifier to this country has been the African American population of America. Stay with me. Whiteness is not real. It's made up. Blackness is not real. Also made up. And because they are both constructs, the way that they function is largely immaterial and then proliferates in the material world. It's psychological, and the line between psychological and spiritual is very hazy. Put a pin in that. Europe had been at war for like a millennia. No one could fucking get along. Germany itself was probably like, 13 different states. England's at war with France. France is at war with England. The Gaelics are at war with, you know what I mean? It's all of these warring it's tribalism is what it's.
And tribalism goes back into a certain form of pride, right? And this is going back to that original connotation of Satan falling due to his pride in him sort of being a racist, right? We got the same thing with Mother Huber, okay? He's hitting on a lot of the crucial pinpoints that's dealing with this thing called whiteness, all right? Pay attention. Notice how he said the psychological and spiritual difference is pretty hazy because it's a thin line. It's really hard to tell the difference between the two.
Been at war for like a millennia. No one could fucking get along. Germany itself was probably like 13 different states. England's at war with France. France is at war with England. The Gaelics are at war with, you know what I mean? It's all of these warring it's tribalism is what that's what it is, but it doesn't get called that because it's white people. So they needed a unifying force, and nothing unifies like a common enemy. The unifier is this concept of whiteness juxtaposed against blackness. Blackness is what America pushed itself off of to make it what it is. So you might come to the United States as a German man, but you get baptized into the cult of whiteness, wash yourself of your Germanness, and just become white. And the promise is, if you do that no matter what, no matter how broke you were when you came over here, you will always be better off than the African American population of this country. It's a psychological wage. It's a badge. It's a gold sticker. You see what I'm saying? That's the American dream. The Irish came over here, they weren't white, but they became white through blackness. Italians became white through blackness, which is why so much of the most virulent racism that you saw, especially in the North, was coming from Irish and Italian communities because they had proximity to blackness and they had to prove themselves. It's like a hazing. They have to push themselves into whiteness off of blackness. But again, pendulums. There's this weird inverse relationship because blackness is portrayed as this bestial thing. So black masculinity and femininity both being associated with the peak of masculinity, but within that there's two different types of sexual vitality that are both lauded as being almost superhuman, right? And we live in a white supremacist male patriarchal society. So the whole center is supposed to be masculinity. So at the same time, the thing that they're pushing against is also the pinnacle of what they're claiming to be. And there's this weird tension. It's almost like a fetish. And psychologically, there's so much to unpack there in terms of like how sexuality and fetish are tied up in the American dream and anti-blackness. But let's skip over that for now. So you get baptized, right? You enter the cult of whiteness and you shed yourself of all your identity, all the thousands of years of culture that made you who you were. And you're just a blank slate. And you see the thing you pushed off against and see that there is still a culture there. And all of a sudden, there's this deep craving. Like the thing that you were pushing against that you claimed to hate in order to get what you always thought you wanted also has all the stuff that you're now missing. And that's why we see over and over again that African American culture specifically, but also black culture generally, gets pushed away and considered gross, ghetto, savage, whatever by white people, until after a while, they're like, well, actually, I really want to be a part of this thing. And then they try to take it over. Jazz, rock and roll, techno, hip hop, everything.
It's crazy how they all say the same thing, right? Everyone knows who created these things and whose culture it really is, but then it gets stolen and taken. All right. And then it becomes the norm. And then you get marginalized and basically pushed out with no representation. And then it resets, as in there was no contribution from the Negro, from the American Negro. And all of these things take place. I mean, we saw the streamer, right, Kai Cenat, go ahead and express exactly what he meant. And, you know, now we're digging at this point of the drop toward the end, and it's bringing it all back home full circle, right? And we can see how this is a ritual based off what some would call extreme Satanism, right? Because it's dealing with spirituality and it's dealing with a force either by violence or trickery, manipulation. Okay. And it's purposefully orchestrated to keep a polarity in existence, but it's a negative polarity and it feeds off the running of negativity.
To blackness, and they had to prove themselves. It's like a hazing. They have to push themselves into whiteness off of blackness. But again, pendulums. There's this weird inverse relationship because blackness is portrayed as this bestial thing. So black masculinity and femininity both being associated with the peak of masculinity, but within that there's two different types of sexual vitality that are both lauded as being almost superhuman, right? And we live in a white supremacist male patriarchal society. So the whole center is supposed to be masculinity. So at the same time, the thing that they're pushing against is also the pinnacle of what they're claiming to be. And there's this weird tension. It's almost like a fetish. And psychologically, there's so much to unpack there in terms of like how sexuality and fetish are tied up in the American dream and anti-blackness. But let's skip over that for now. So you get baptized, right? You enter the cult of whiteness and you shed yourself of all your identity, all the thousands of years of culture that made you who you were. And you're just a blank slate. And you see the thing you pushed off against and see that there is still a culture there. And all of a sudden.
And it's true, right? If you were from another nationality, like he said, a German or Japanese, or you come over here from another country, you leave your culture, you leave your country to join America. But America's culture is whiteness, right? And when you become a part of that whiteness, like he said, you baptize yourself into this satanic society, and everything becomes in contrast or in opposition of the American Negro. And we become the footstool of society over and over again. And this goes, you know, even to those who aren't necessarily white, but don't identify with the American Negro at the same time.
And psychologically, there's so much to unpack there in terms of like how sexuality and fetish are tied up in the American dream and anti-blackness. But let's skip over that for now. So you get baptized, right? You enter the cult of whiteness and you shed yourself of all your identity, all the thousands of years of culture that made you who you were. And you're just a blank slate. And you see the thing you pushed off against and see that there is still a culture there. And all of a sudden, there's this deep craving. Like the thing that you were pushing against that you claimed to hate in order to get what you always thought you wanted also has all the stuff that you're now missing. And that's why we see over and over again that African American culture specifically, but also black culture generally, gets pushed away and considered gross, ghetto, savage, whatever by white people, until after a while they're like, well, actually, I really want to be a part of this thing. And then they try to take it over. Jazz, rock and roll, techno, hip hop, everything. Whiteness as a concept creates a hungry ghost within you. It's a vacuum. It's a black hole, very ironically. And so,
wow, a black hole, right? He said a ghost. Key terms for the part 2 of this installation. Key terms: ghost and a black hole. I mean, I'm finally into that understanding of what a black hole really is. All right, and we're gonna definitely dig on it, man. Black holes and ghosts. My brother's hitting on some solid points, and we're at that vibe. We're at that point to where it's all connecting. Peace to the cons.
Really gets pushed away and considered gross, ghetto, savage, whatever by white people, until after a while they're like, well, actually, I really want to be a part of this thing. And then they try to take it over. Jazz, rock and roll, techno, hip hop, everything. Whiteness as a concept creates a hungry ghost within you. It's a vacuum. It's a black hole, very ironically. And so, you know, that's what they're saying when they say that, like, whiteness hurts everybody. No one benefits. And moreover, whiteness is a state of mind. It's not a physical thing. Because again, the Irish weren't white, the Italians weren't white, and now even in a modern context, you might see, for instance, in some instances, a West African might come to the US and understand the subtext of don't associate yourself with African Americans. Because that's the American dream. That's the subtext. In an attempt to join whiteness, East Asians attempt to join whiteness. African Americans attempt to join whiteness. Black men attempt to join whiteness. Everyone's trying to join. But the thing is, this cult takes everything from you. And it's only once you join that you realize what you've lost. Or rather, your children realize what you've lost. Whiteness is a cult. Everyone can join. Black people are delicious. I'll explain. Last thing I'll say, it's interesting from a physics perspective that whiteness requires all other colors to exist, but blackness requires no colors. That is to say, if we want to move towards a post-racial world, we all have to move towards blackness mentally as opposed to whiteness.
What a wonderful, well said presentation, man. And with that, we're going to go ahead and ride out. I would like to say shalom to the tribe. Y'all see how my memory was acting up, man. You know, everything, you know, it all plays a part, Shabbatah. So when you go ahead and support the channel, when you go ahead and support me, it keeps the energy, the wata on steady flow. All right. Less interruptions, more build. So, much high, because I know y'all really do. And I just want to let you know, where your energy and where your effort and where your participation actually applies and where it goes. So with that being said, man, much hop to the real ones. Thank you for, you know, surfing the wave all the way up to this point. And look out for part 2. It'll definitely be on the way, you know, extra soon. Until next time, peace.